Hello and welcome. So today I'm going to be talking about Protea, and man oh man is there a lot to talk about with her. She is a very popular Warframe, one of the more popular ones we have. She is, to a lot of people, in a lot of regards, just a perfected Warframe, because you can just use her at a base level, just her kit, because everything synergizes with itself pretty well, and she doesn't technically need a helmet ability to be good, but it does make her better. That's like the main build that I use that I'm going to showcase. That being said, though, with her being a very, very popular Warframe, I am going to go over her abilities, and I'm also going to show off a new player build just to have, just to show something for the new players so that they can, just go ahead and have something and, hit the ground running, as it were, if they are building Protea. So, got a lot to talk about. I got a lot to show. Let's go ahead and just get into this. So, for starters, let's go with the Archon Shards here. So, I've got 2 Equilibrium Shards, I have 2 Power Strength Shards, and then I have a Casting Speed Shard. All of these are to taste. You can customize and change these as you want, but I would recommend that you keep the Casting Speed Shard because at heart, Protea is a caster Warframe, so she will be spamming her abilities fairly often. So the casting speed does just make everything feel and flow, for me personally, just a little bit better. So now getting into her abilities, and we're going to start with her passive, because her passive actually is very strong. So for every 4th ability cast that she does, that ability is given 100% ability strength, and that does also apply to helmet abilities as well. So this is why you'll see some Protea builds, they'll have 130, 120, 110 help 100 just base power strength on them, because with her passive it's not actually that low, it actually goes up much higher. So that is why, if you've ever wondered that is why, it's because of her passive. And then now for her first ability, so this is her Grenade Fan. So this is technically 2 abilities. So if you just tap it, you get the little vortex grenades that get sent out, and then these do slash damage. These are fairly good for just kind of killing fodder things, but not that much more. The other reason why you want to use these, and the main reason why I use them personally, is for the hold ability that you see down there for the shield satellites. So these shield satellites get thrown out, and then if you walk over them, they will then attach to you like that, and then they'll hover over you, and then you'll start to regenerate shields, and you'll also regenerate over shields. And then when these shield satellites break, that then triggers the shield gate, and then the shield gate is unique, and it lasts for 3 seconds. So that's where a lot of the survivability with Protea is going to come from. It's going to come from her shield satellites. So if you're going to use Protea even, a little bit, I would highly suggest that you go into the options, go to controls, and then I think it's under gameplay. You're going to want to go into the invert tap hold ability screen, and then go on Protea and then click invert, because then that will then change the hold satellites down there like how it is by default. That'll then change that to the tap, so that instead of just constantly holding down your first ability button or whatever, you can just go ahead and you can just tap it, and you can just kind of spam it, because again, that's how she lives, so you're going to want to spam it quite a bit. And then now for her second ability, this is her Blaze Artillery. So this is where she's going to get a lot of her damage from. So you just get to deploy out a turret. The turret just fires. It does heat damage, which is very good. And then the turret also has infinite punch through, so it can just shoot through basically just a row of people, which is why grouping with Protea is very, very strong. And you want some sort of grouping in her loadout. Also, when you're shooting things with the Blaze Artillery, it also gains a combo meter on it, and then the higher that combo number is, the more damage that the Blaze Artillery will do. And then we have our third ability here. This is Dispensary. So Dispensary, when you throw it out, it is going to shoot out either health orbs, energy orbs, or ammo. And the ammo is universal, so it goes for anything that you have. This is also her subsume ability. And yeah, Dispensary is a pretty good ability because this just keeps her topped up with energy, keeps her ammo all stocked up. And yeah, Dispensary, it's just hard to say bad things about Dispensary. It's a pretty good ability. And now we have Temporal Anchor. So this is her 4th ability, and this one's a little interesting. So what this does is when you cast it, you'll use the energy initially to cast it, and then once you're basically in that like anchor state, you can just use and spam your abilities as you want to, go around, kill things, do whatever. And then at the end of the duration of Temporal Anchor, you're going to go back to where you first cast it from, and then everything that you used and also gained is going to be refunded. And then when you go back to your like origin point, basically, there's also going to be an AoE blast that goes off that then does damage to a portion of however much damage that you dealt during that duration. This ability, depending on like how you are just as a player, you may like this, you may not like this, it just kind of depends. This is largely, though, at least for me, the ability that gets subsumed off the most, just as like a little heads up. Alright, so now let's get into the newer player build. So just for starters, we've got continuity here, streamline, intensify, flow, and stretch. So just making sure that like every base is covered here, because everything does benefit Protea when you're using all of her abilities. And yeah, that's basically about it. There's nothing like too fancy. If you're like just, kind of starting out, you're on the base steel path and whatnot, there's not like too much here or anything to really dive into too much. Unless if you're like a little bit higher up, maybe you can get like a really nice augment. You can go ahead and snag. I'm a big fan of the Temporal Artillery. This one I actually liked a little bit more than what I thought I would. Just having the artillery just kind of always behind you as a turret when you use the Temporal Anchor is nice. And then also, I know I've got Dreamer's Bond here, but she has a universal aura mods polarity here anyways, so you can use whatever kind of aura mod that you want that goes in there that works for Protea. And also, as a spoiler for some I'm going to talk about in like a second or two, don't use Brief Respite. Just trust me, I'll explain later. But yeah, you can use a build like this, and you'll be more than this'll clear star chart with ease, and you still have a lot of room to just add a bunch of stuff to it. And actually, speaking of the Temporal Artillery, this is the build that I was using to kind of test out her augments and whatnot. The Temporal Erosion was like interesting, but I think I just gravitated a little bit more towards the Temporal Artillery, just being a little bit more offensive and having the just the Blaze Artillery just always on me while I'm moving and whatnot. It was just kind of nice to have as I'm just in the that temporal state, and just like, spamming my 2 essentially just to get out a bunch of damage. I won't be explaining these the mod loadout here, because I'm going to do mostly explaining with the main build that I have over here. But one thing I do want to highlight is the enemy radar that I have. So this made using the Temporal Anchor for me a lot better, because then this, with like the Animal Instinct that I have, made it so that I can see where enemies are. So then this helped me plan out where to go during the state so that I could then make the most out of Temporal Anchor. So this may be something that I use like in the future just for like funsies. I don't think it's going to replace the main build at all, but this was like a little bit of fun and whatnot to go ahead and just, use and do and just kind of tear through some things. Also, using Bright Bonnet from Noko, this wound up being a little bit better than what I thought it was going to be. Just having like the extra ability strength, and then having like the extra like energy for the restore and all that kind of business. This performed pretty well, and well enough to the point where, gonna switch over to the main build here. For starters, before I get into the mods really quick, since I'm talking about abilities, I did subsume Roar on this, but with the little testing that I did with Bright Bonnet over here, you could, if you're, sick of using Roar, and believe me, I get it, you can probably just put Bright Bonnet where Roar is, and you'll be more than fine. I still think Roar is just kind of better in general because, well, it's Roar. But if if you are sick of Roar, you can throw Bright Bonnet in here, and I think you'll be more than fine, and you get to, do something a little different with yourself. So now getting into the mods themselves, I've got Corrosive Projection, Prime Sheer Footed, Stretch, Prime Flow, Adaptation, Blind Rage, Archon Vitality, Precision Intensify, Rolling Guard, and Prime Continuity. And then for the Arcanes, I've got Arcane Concentration and Molt Augmented. So, a few quick little call-outs here. You do not have to really level Arcane Vitality because the part of this that we care about isn't the health part. It's the heat damage will be applied twice part because we're, using a bunch of heat damage with Blaze Artillery. That's the main part of this that we care about. So if you don't have a Arcane Vitality or you don't have one leveled up to max, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Just getting like one by itself, you'll be more than fine. It doesn't have to be leveled, doesn't have to be anything. You just have to literally just own it. So that's a way that you can go ahead and save on some mod capacity and save yourself from using some Forma. And even with me having a maxed Arcane Vitality, I still have 9 extra capacity left. So I did over Forma a little bit just to test some things out. Also, with the build, I am using Blind Rage because of Dispensary. I just get back a bunch of energy and whatnot, so the negative efficiency doesn't really affect me. If you are running into issues with efficiency, you can go ahead and run something like Transient Fortitude that you've got right here. Your duration's going to go down a little bit, but this will probably make your energy management be a little bit better. And then also, I know I'm running 145 range here. I know that some people do like more range on their build. You can go ahead and just swap out Adaptation for more ability range from, where is it? Here it is, Overextended. So this can get you the range that you're looking for. You're just sacrificing a little bit of your damage reduction there, but it's not by too much. It's just a comfort pick for me personally. So this is entirely just up to taste. So you can leave that in, you can take it out. It's entirely up to you. Precision Intensify is simply just for Roar. So if you wanted to use Umbral Intensify and just get a bigger bonus for all of your other abilities, let's say if you're not using Roar and you're using something else, that's also valid as well. Rolling Guard is for in case if we do get a status effect on us, we can just roll and we'll be fine. It also happens if like we're caught in between like shield gating or whatnot. This can break, we can roll, then we can just kind of like throw some things out or whatnot. Prime Flow is great for just energy because again we are a spamcaster Warframe, so having a bunch of energy is really important. And then Continuity and then Archon Concentration is really good because she loves herself some duration, and because of all the times we're casting, this is essentially just 60 free duration. Last thing with the build here is going to be Molt Augmented, just getting a bunch of ability strength. This can, if you're having issues with survivability, this can of course just be changed to Arcane Aegis, so that you can go ahead and you can just, well, with Aegis and then her shield satellites here, she'll be more than tanky enough to go ahead and just tank whatever is assaulting her, so long as it isn't like 20 toxic procs at once. But yeah, if you're still having issues with survivability, you would just go ahead and remove the Molt Augmented, and then you can just use the Arcane Aegis there. But yeah, this is the main build that I have been using on Protea for a little bit, and yeah, and then the reason why I don't have much higher ability range here is because of this. So the Cyotid is a weapon from Araxia, and this has a very nice grouping ability with its alt fire. This is the build that I'm running. It's not all of that important because we're just using this thing for the alt fire. You can run, I'm pretty sure realistically, whatever you'd like to, and then I'm just running Fortifier in here just to remove some overguard in case if I can just, hit some things with the regular fire. But the alt fire for this is a pretty good grouping ability that you can just go ahead and use, and it just tethers them all together, and then that lumps them together so that the Blaze Artillery can just light everything up, and it does work to say the least, let's say. If you do not have the Cyotid, I would recommend the Proboscis Cernos here. This does have a little bit of a grouping ability. When you shoot it, it does like lump them kind of close. The Cyotid is obviously better, but this can get the job done as well. And then this is the build that I use for this on the Cernos to go ahead and just, as you can see, there's a bunch of statuses here, and I also have Debilitate. So this whole thing's job is to group and then spread Space Herpes to the best of its abilities, and it works pretty well. If you do not want to use either of these for your grouping ability, I'm going to get into the companion here. I'll go over Worm here in a second, but if you don't want to use either of those, then I would use the Nautilus, because then you can use its precept for Cordon, and then it will then go ahead and then group enemies together for you as well, and then this is the build that I would recommend for Nautilus to go ahead and use that for, so that you have some sort of grouping in your build for Protea, because again, grouping is very important for Protea. All right. Oh, I forgot to mention something. So for the Aura mod and then for some other things here, this is a quick little TLDR for Protea in case if you didn't know. I mentioned earlier that you don't want to run Brief Respite, and then this also goes for the Augur mod set. So what these do is these give you back shields when you use abilities or whatnot. This directly impacts her 3-second shield gate that she gets. So her 3-second shield gate will be overridden by the Augur mods and by Brief Respite. So that's why you do not want to use those. You want to just have and keep her shield satellites just by themselves so that you can always have that 3-second shield gate invincibility duration. So if you are running any of the Augur mods or Brief Respite or whatnot, and then that also goes for that also goes for on your weapons. You can have the Augur mod set on your weapons too, and then this also counts. So, and that's why this is just separated out as Protea. So if you have issues with survivability or whatnot, I would double check your build and make sure that you don't have Brief Respite or an Augur mod on you, because that can affect how the shield satellites interact and whatnot with shield gate, because those will override the shield satellites shield gating properties. Okay, I almost forgot that. Alright, so the actual companion that I use, getting back to this, is Worm, because Worm has the negate precept to go ahead and cleanse us of status effects, which is nice. We're also running this for the reinforced bond because of all the shields that we gain. Duplex is just going to make a bunch of worms, and then they're going to fire off a bunch of times thanks to the warrior thing here just to shoot enemies. And then Guardian is nice because if our shield's breaking, let's say we're just kind of caught out with maybe we don't have energy for whatever reason, that shouldn't happen, but it's a big what if case. This will just regenerate our shields for us, so this is nice to have. But yeah, this is what I choose to run. And then for the Tazakor here, this is how I choose to set this up, to just go ahead and spread a bunch of viral and other statuses. With it having a bunch of status, it does this fairly quickly. And in addition to all the other survivability, if you're still having issues with survivability, I would recommend this loadout and build on the Tazakor, because this is going to strip a lot of the enemy's armor because of all the status that we have. And then because of the cold here, it's also just going to freeze all the enemies. So if you're still just having issues with survivability, I would give this build a shot on the Tazikor. It is very, very strong for just freezing everything and spreading statuses, and yeah, it's a real good time. But to just kind of showcase just a baseline, I'm just going to use this. All right, and then the melee weapon, you can use whatever melee weapon you want to, but I've been using the Siam. And then not to go into too much detail about this weapon, because there's a lot here to discuss, and there's a lot with Protea in general, but this is the build that I've been using, just a gas-heavy attack kind of spam build. Figured I would just use a weapon that I can just kind of pull out heavy attack a few times, and then whatever problem is in front of me is now no longer a problem. But yeah, this is the build that I've been running. This has been pretty solid. All right, and then depending on if you want to use the Cyotid or the Cernos, this frees up either or of the secondary or primary slot. I would recommend to just use the Cyotid. Then you can use whatever primary you want as like your big damage dealer outside of just using your Blaze Artillery, of course. But what I really like about Protea is using the Arc Guns. So I'm going to showcase the Arc Guns here, and then the builds that you can use for these. She's really good with the Arc Guns because of her dispensary, and then that giving universal ammo because that also fills the ammo for Arc Guns. So she's very, very good and a very, very good holder of these. So, starting here with the Mazatlan, this is one that we all get for essentially free because we all get the free Necromech or whatnot to build for the missions. So this is the build that I have pretty much here for the Mazatlan, and this works pretty well. I know there's a forma that I put into this with the Prime Ruida Barrel. If you don't have the Prime and you just have the regular one, you might be able to just get away and have this be a no forma build, but I'm not sure, but that sounds correct. Also, these are the arcane adapters that you would run because the Arc Guns can run both a primary arcane adapter and a secondary arcane adapter. So that makes them very, very strong. And then this is what I was running on the Mazatlan to just go ahead and test a few things, and it was pretty good. But yep, this is what I would recommend, just a little corrosive heat, and yeah, overall pretty decent. On the topic of getting like Arc Guns that you likely have, talking about Noko, because if you have Noko Subsume, you probably also have his Arc Gun, the Arbisek. So with this, it basically just shoots a bunch of missiles. It's just like a grenade fan, basically. You just shoot a bunch of missiles, and then those just deal a bunch of different statuses. So this is the build that I have for these. I'm not trying to talk too much about like my mod choices or whatnot for the Arc Guns, just showing off the mod choices that I have and then what I use for the Arcanes. Innervate for this is really good because the overall crit rate for this is basically nothing, but thanks to Innervate, you do end up critting with these, and the damage can get up there pretty easily, and I'm a big fan of this one. And then here we go. The Kuva Grattler is also a good option. And then this is how I have this modded as well. Notable though with the Grattler, if you don't have Prime Sheer-Footed, I would maybe not pick this one as your heavy weapon, because the like AoE from these rounds, it will disorient your Warframe and you're probably not going to have a good time. But this is my loadout that I have for the Kuva Grattler, and this does work incarnate. So this is pretty good. You can adjust the primary and secondary arcanes as you would like, but this is what has worked well for me. And the big star is the Luxor Prime. So this is Hildren's prime weapon that she came with, and this is really, really good. So this is what I primarily run with Protea. This is just a big beam weapon, essentially. So Crux works really well because you hit them in the body and like some of it goes to the head. So this stacks Crux up incredibly fast. And then Innervate gets triggered a lot. And then we've got the Sabbat rounds in here. So punch through on beam weapons is really, really good. And yeah, this thing just tears. And I'm going to like show all this off when I do the survival that I normally do, but yeah, this thing just tears. The Unluxper is just really, really strong, and probably this is probably my favorite arc weapon. And yeah, I think I have covered everything. Whew! All right, that's done. Man, that's a lot to talk about. I'm hoping I remembered everything. I'm fairly confident I didn't. If I didn't, please like let me know in the comments, because I'm sure that I didn't get your like favorite interaction or synergy. And if I did, it's not because I don't think it's good. It's just because, well, there's a lot here.
More powerful than before. Only with true mastery
So
of the Tenno arsenal will you succeed.
And look at that, for free energy.
They have just shut down all systems. I'm sending life support capsules your way.
There's that. There we go. And then, yeah, you can see the combo up there, so it's at 27. But then this one, like, all of them have to deal up their own combo. Then I've got the Scioted on me. Alt fire, and now they're all grouped. And now they're all dead. Look at that. Man, it's like a magic trick. So, satellites. You just always want to just throw these things out. I'm getting low on energy, so I'll just throw this out. There we go. Look at that. Look at that craziness. And I'm going to roar. So now this is going to buff, like, everything that she does. Do this again. And as you can just kind of tell, yeah, the Blaze Artillery just does a lot. This is the Proboscis, and then that does, it doesn't group as well, but it does have some grouping in it, so that's why I decided to highlight it here, just in the build in case if someone just doesn't have the Scioted. But yeah, as you can tell, this is just kind of trivial, more or less, for Protea. She's so strong. She is so strong, she is so much fun. So, roar again. Let's show off the art guns. So, okay, the first like minute of this is going to be kind of crazy because I've got roar active, but yeah. Yep. I couldn't see. I don't know if you guys could see, but I could not see. I also couldn't talk either. So, yep, this just spreads. More shield. We'll use this to get me more ammo. Reload. There we go. And yeah, this is just shredding through things. This thing reminds me of a Ratchet and Clank gun. Like, that's just how wacky I feel like this gun is. Okay, in about a couple seconds, I'm just going to show what this thing does at a baseline, which even its baseline is still really strong. See, it just shreds. Obviously, it shreds a little slower, but still pretty quickly. Shield, this. And then when you're on, like, the fourth cast of this, that's ideally when you want to use Roar, because then you get a bigger war buff. And then if you're also, like, choose to use, like, Bright Bonnet, I would also probably do that with Bright Bonnet, too, because that's what I was doing when I was testing out the Temporal Artillery Augment. That wound up being fun. I was actually surprised how fun that build actually was, because I'm not the biggest fan of the temporal anchor augment, but just having a constant, you know, just turret by me was actually pretty nice. And hopefully we, aha! Throw some of these out. Oh, and it's violence. Alright, so go do-do-do-do. Nothing matters. Yeah, violence didn't stand a chance. He just didn't stand a chance. Really, none of the acolytes do, but yeah. And I do want to note that I've been using this thing for a while now, and I have not had to change off of it. Again, that's because of her, there we go, her third ability. That's the dispenser, it's just kind of shooting out some ammo and health and whatnot that you saw. Which is another reason why I'm using the equilibrium charge. You can probably get away with just using one. I just like having two just because the, I don't know, it just was better. But you can probably get away with just using one.
Additional life support has arrived.
This. Whoops! Timed that wrong. Oh well. Oh, there's a red crit. Don't see too many of those, but those can happen. Alright, it looks like we're about to be done and over.
The raid is
Alright.
off to a successful start.
That
When you're
is
ready,
the
go
run,
to
and
extraction.
let's get out of here. Alright, well, I hope you liked the video. I hope you learned something. Hope you try a few of the builds out and you try Protea. I know that shield gating isn't like the best way to like live, a survivor, nothing, but shit, it is just really easy with her. So I would just give it a shot and just double check your builds if you're running any like the Augur mods or Beefer Spider or anything. But nonetheless, thank you for watching. If you watched to the end, I've got more videos coming. Thanks so much for the support. Later.